So I think I'm hoping that what we've seen at the moment and the kind of announcements on Monday to say, no or very limited advancement is the kind of backstop position. So they've, maybe NESO have just given everyone the bad news first. We can't guarantee this advancement. But, I would still argue there's still opportunity for the TOs to study the network, re-study all of these connections and look at the specific project advancement opportunities. So, even if projects haven't been kind of guaranteed advancement from phase 2 to phase 1, then hopefully that doesn't mean a TO should, not be considering advancement when they're actually doing their power system studies. I think that'd be my ask.
Like in the background, if we've got 3 times more batteries that are going to get Gate 2 offers than sort of was in the Clean Power 2030 plan, does that mean that in the background NESO's planning assumptions are going to be that there's 3 times more batteries than they need, or are they just going to assume that the lots of 62 gigawatts of schemes will have attrition and leave the queue? It's quite an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah. And the kind of, actually we don't know what the technical CPAs are going to be. So, so we had a lot of movement on CPAs last year, which kind of suggested that we might have a sort of a net neutral assumption around batteries. So to assume that they didn't sort of support the grid, but they also didn't overload it. But, we're aware that lots of TOs push back against that potentially. We've no idea what the new CPAs are. So I think, maybe it's in the technical guidance document, maybe it's something that the TOs could actually kind of be a bit more sort of transparent and publish.
Welcome to the Connectology podcast. I'm Hugh Taylor, CEO here at Road Knight Taylor, and in these episodes, our grid connection specialists, the Connectologists, dive into the evolving grid connections landscape, often taking expert guests with them in order to discover, generate, and share insights that might just help you and maybe even industry as a whole to connect projects faster, at lower risk, and at lower cost.
Hello and welcome to another podcast from Road Knight Taylor. I'm Pete Aston and I'm joined by my colleagues Alex Ikonic, Nikki, Pillinge and Catherine Cleary. So for anyone listening, this is our festive podcast because we all are wearing festive jumpers of one kind or another. And if you listen very carefully, you may hear some jingle bells. So we're going to be really picking up on the Gate 2 notifications. So picking up on the Christmas theme, I guess for some developers, Santa has come and delivered them what they were wanting, and for others, the Grinch has come and stolen Christmas. So yeah, the Gate 2 notifications came out earlier this week from when we've been recording. So I don't know who wants to go first. There's a lot to say about Gate 2 notifications. Go on, Catherine.
So I guess transmission customers did all get their Gate 2 notifications on Monday, and the notifications. I think we've seen quite a lot of people who are perhaps a bit confused by what they saw in the notifications. So it confirms whether you're Gate 1 or Gate 2, obviously, whether you've passed detailed checks or whether you're still subject to some detailed checks. It also confirms what phase you are, but it only confirms the phase that you are for your first firm stage of the connections. If you have multiple stages of your connection and stage 1 is non-firm, then that Gate 2 notification doesn't really give you any information about your first non-firm stage. So that's one thing to say if anyone's thinking, where's my non-firm stage 1 that I was expecting to be, connected in the next couple of years? That won't be in your notification. So I suppose that's kind of one point to point out. The other thing is that means that whether you've got a phase 1, sort of up to 2030, or a phase 2, 2031 and beyond notification, that's not necessarily the whole picture as to when you're going to get your offer. So if you have got a protected project and you're expecting a 27 or 26 connection date to be protected, then we have had NESO confirm that those offers will go out in January for transmission projects as expected. So that's kind of, I think, a good thing, but a point of confusion that's affected quite a lot of people.
And Nikki, in terms of just some of the numbers, in terms of some of the technology types and the pots that have filled up, can you give us a bit of a view as to how that looks for sort of solar, batteries, etc.?
So as kind of expected, batteries have been a big loser in this process. So pretty much any batteries without planning permission have not got a grid offer or a Gate 2 offer. There's been some solar schemes that haven't got through, but not too many. So there was quite significant solar allocations. Some wind projects, lots of wind in Scotland has missed out, unfortunately, and there's been no reallocation between sort of England and Wales and Scottish wind capacity. Some gas didn't get through as well. But on the whole, batteries have definitely been been a big loser as was kind of anticipated with this.
Yeah, but on the batteries, Alex, there's still quite a lot more batteries in the queue than are actually needed, isn't there?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So quite a lot of batteries were protected. So it is easier to get planning permission for batteries, which is why they were able to get that planning status. So I think it's something like 62 gigawatts oversubscribed with batteries.
So I guess that what that means is if you were a battery customer and you got a Gate 1 offer, you'd have to wait for 62 gigawatts of batteries to come out the queue before there's any chance of you being able to go in a future window.
Yes.
That's a burn. Yeah.
And I guess some batteries could still be eligible for protections in the next window. So if they had applied before the 20th of December for planning permission.
Yeah.
So potentially that could grow a little bit more.
So that's protection clause 3A, wasn't it? I think
Yes.
that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
And I think it's any future window, actually. I don't think they have to get it by the next window. I think they could go into any future window.
So in terms of remaining headroom, I think it's only really onshore wind, isn't it, in England and Wales that's got any significant headroom left. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And a few zones of solar.
And a few zones of
I think
solar.
under 500 megawatts split over 3 zones, I think.
Yeah.
We don't know
very,
exactly.
very small amounts of solar left.
But yeah, significant sort of numbers of schemes that have come out the queue. So we were contemplating before we started the podcast how much of the data we'd go into, but we decided you can just go and look at NESO's website.
Yeah,
because
add up
we'll just be waffling around the numbers. But so really significant week for all the industry. I guess this is a week that we've been working up to for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So really significant. In terms of what we're seeing in terms of the sort of clients that we've been working with, any surprises in terms of notifications that anyone's seen?
I've had one, so I've had a solar scheme that has Gate 1 because obviously the solar capacities have gone over slightly. But not non-protected project.
So was that a surprise for that particular client?
It was a bit of a surprise. We weren't quite sure which way it was going to go. But yeah, I don't think I've had any other particular surprises.
Yeah.
I suppose the advancement point is a bit of a surprise. So that's not necessarily very visible to individual projects yet because the notifications don't really show the kind of granularity of advancement within phases. But it was a bit of a bombshell that kind of got dropped on Monday. I think, NESO acknowledged on their webinar that very few projects have, lots of people have requested advancement, but very, very few projects have actually been considered for advancement. So it sounds like NESO and the TOs have had some conversations. And I think I was surprised because based on the kind of connections design methodologies, the wording in that sort of really suggested that those initial conversations were just about ruling out or kind of vetoing advancement requests that were obviously impossible without doing any study work. And it seems quite surprising to me that they've ruled out the vast majority of advancement requests without doing any study work. So I'm a little bit concerned about the process that's sort of been followed there. And it's obviously not a great outcome if connections reform hasn't actually managed to accelerate any projects. And that did seem like that was pretty glossed over on Monday's webinar.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Just on the sort of technical side a bit and how lots of the work was done by NESO in the background. There has been a technical handbook published. None of us have read it, so we don't actually know what's in it, but we are hoping to read it.
It's been a busy week.
This week, next week. So maybe we'll pick up on that on the next podcast. But there could be some really interesting things within that, possibly about how they've done the process. And in terms of published data, Alex, what sort of stuff have they published?
We've seen quite a few things. So the first bit is the kind of summary graph. So it kind of goes into the different technologies and kind of what's made it into Gate 2, what's protected and what's just sort of made it in through being ready and strategically aligned. We've also seen the EA register being published. So that lists all the projects that applied for Gate 2, but it doesn't necessarily say whether they were successful. It's just, a kind of a collated list at distribution and at transmission.
And am I right in thinking with the EA register, it's only schemes that gave permission?
Yes.
So it's like a non-complete list of people who possibly asked for a Gate 2 offer.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like the most useful data set in the world.
Yeah. Any other data sets? So I guess we've got the tech register and the embedded capacity registers. What's happening with those?
The tech register's got an extra column on it, which is going to say gate 1 or gate 2. And there are a few fields which are beginning to be populated now. So there are some schemes which are showing as gate 1. Those are schemes which are kind of self-elected to go straight to gate 1. They'll only update that as projects sign their offers, so get a countersigned position. So we might start to expect to see the kind of first projects get gate 2 kind of status on that, I guess, sort of halfway through Q1 next year. It's not going to be imminent, and it might take the whole year next year to kind of populate those forms fully.
Does anyone know if the embedded capacity register is going to have the same in terms of gate 1, gate 2 notifications?
No, so they're just going to come off. So any gate 1 offers will just be removed from the embedded capacity registers. Or that's what we've heard from the DNOs. So
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see if any of the DNOs do that or any of them do it the same way.
Yeah. It's a bit harder to track something being removed, isn't it? It's quite nice having that field, and if it's blank, it's TBC, and if it's populated, it's populated. Whereas if something just gets removed, you don't really know yet whether it's just not been assessed yet or whether...
So perhaps if anyone's interested in tracking this, go and download a copy of the ECR now for every DNO, and then do it every month from thereafter. Track it through. Okay, so lots of stuff coming through on the data. I guess we've mentioned that there are some projects that may be getting gate 1 where they weren't quite expecting it. So we'll briefly touch on this, but there is a disputes process, isn't there, Alex? But
it's quite limited.
But it seems quite limited at the moment.
Yes, yeah. So I think in the webinar earlier this week, NESO said that any disputes have to be accompanied by evidence where you think they've done something wrong, essentially, which I think is quite hard to get in the first place. And crucially, even if you do enter into the disputes process, there's not much that NESO or Ofgem could do to put you back into the queue. And I think that's kind of the critical point there, that even if there has been a mistake, it's almost too late to fix it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been quite mixed messaging about that as well. I've been to a few events and there's been some webinars and it has been a bit, if there's loads of mistakes, then we might look to rectify it, and then absolutely not. We're not going to rectify mistakes. So, potentially some mixed messaging there. But, as far as we know, no queue re-entry.
I think the formal kind of dispute process guidance from Ofgem, as well as NESO's kind of written guidance, is pretty discouraging, isn't it? Both basically say there is no opportunities for reinsertion into the queue.
Yeah, whatever gate 1 or gate 2, whatever you've been offered, that's sort of, I was going to say, irreversible. I guess if you've got a gate 2 offer, you could elect to not have one. But I guess if you've got a gate 1 offer, NESO said they won't put you back in for a gate 2.
Yeah, and it could be a lot more nuanced than that, couldn't it? So I suspect that a lot of the cases that people might be concerned about are where they've got a gate 2 offer, but they're worried about, how they've been treated and whether they're, where they are in that gate 2 queue, and they've been notified that they're phase 2 potentially. And they at the moment, they just don't have any data to be able to see, does that mean they're phase 2, but actually they're still expecting a 2027 connection date, for example, because they're protected, and I think so. I think a lot of that nuance, as you say, Alex, you wouldn't be able to raise a complaint because you wouldn't have any of the data.
And there was just one other interesting thing I noticed on some of the numbers. So I was looking at the LDES pot this week. So there was still apparently 150 megawatts unallocated in the long duration energy storage pot, but 5.6 gigawatts that got a gate 1 offer. So it's quite intriguing to see, whether or not, how could you not fill up the last 150 megawatts? And we were just speculating whether there was a large scheme that was sort of next in the queue, bigger than 150 megawatts, that might have not been able to fit in, and then everyone else sort of coming after then wasn't reallocated. Or it just seems like a strange thing that they couldn't fill that whole pot.
Yeah, I think from memory, I think the methodology sort of suggested if there was any capacity left in the pot, the next scheme would get in, if that makes sense, even if that took you very slightly over the permitted capacities. So
I think that was only for the 2030 pot. The 2035 pot was
an absolute
hard limit.
Right. Good memory, Alex.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just some sort of slightly intriguing things that come out from that. Okay, in terms of In terms of next steps, then, what are we expecting, Nikki, in terms of what's next from NESO and the DNOs?
So we are now kind of expecting the actual formal offers. So they will start filtering through in January. So we've kind of had it confirmed we're not going to get anything before Christmas. It will be a bit different for, obviously, National Grid. So transmission customers will get their offers directly from NESO, and then the DNOs will then get their offers from NESO and then have to spend quite a long time analysing them and looking and seeing what that means. So a lot of the DNOs have made commitments to get offers out within 4 weeks of receiving them, because they only have the 90-day period to actually go through them, do the engineering assessment, get offers out to customers, get them signed, get securities paid and everything. So it's a very, very short window really for them in terms of everything they actually have to do. And that's going to be going on. So protected customers should get their project offers between sort of January and March next year, depending on, transmission or distribution. And then I think it's all offers, all 2030 offers will get their offers by the end of Q2, and then everyone else like phase 2 will kind of get theirs over the rest of the year.
Yeah. So
still a very
long tail still.
Yeah. I think it is right though to flag that, from what we're seeing, the distribution network operators in particular, are working really, really hard, aren't they?
So much to do.
Because they are having to take that kind of constantly moving time frame at the moment from NESO and then kind of turn it around for their customers. So I know that the NGED were sort of issuing Gate 2, Gate 1 notifications on Monday, sort of, up to midnight, into the early hours, So, I mean, a huge shout out to the kind of dedication of those connection teams, because, I think the DNOs have really, sort of just gone the extra mile in trying to kind of remain available to their customers and actually kind of deliver things really quickly, turn them around really quickly.
Yeah, and there's so much for them to do as well. They have to rerun curtailment reports as well. Where there's curtailment, they have to figure out how it fits into technical limits, because that's another scheme that's kind of still ongoing.
And maybe restudy their own network reinforcement requirements.
Yeah. Well,
connection costs.
Yeah, people like UKPN have said we will restudy the local network reinforcement. We'll rerun your curtailment study. We will update your connection costs. All of that within 4 weeks of receiving an offer from NESO. Seriously impressive.
Yeah.
I guess one of the things to flag is quite a few of the DNOs have shown timelines whereby customers will only have 4 weeks from receiving a DNO Gate 2 offer to accept it, because of the tight turnaround that the DNOs have got to accept their transmission offer within 3 months. So just expect tight timelines. Be ready to review.
And that you might be being asked for securities to be put in place as well, so that the DNOs sure that they've got the securities from their customers prior to them signing up to the transmission offer that needs to place securities as well.
Because that's interesting, because with the transmission offer, you have to put the securities up within, is it 30
days
after
after accepting. Yeah. But the DNOs currently covered under different security regimes as well may say we want that security in place before we accept the NESO offer. So again, you just got those kind of condensed timeframes.
And the DNOs have different securities policies as well.
Yeah.
Some of them do differ in terms of what they'll accept for securities and what kind of leniency they might have on that. So and advice from different DNOs.
Sorry. And for customers who are going to receive a Gate 1 offer, they've got a certain amount of weeks to sign that, haven't they, in order so that they can get their securities back refunded. Can you remember? Is it, because I don't think it's 90 days, is it?
I might have to have a look at that. There's basically a tranche of Gate 1 offers that'll come out now, and there's a timeline on NESO's website which says, if you accept within this time frame, we guarantee to get your securities out. I think the offer will still have a 90-day validity period.
Yeah. So we're very much looking forward to getting the first Gate 2 offers and having a look through, but not till the new year. Anything else to say on Gate 2 and notifications and the big week that we've had?
I guess I've voiced my scepticism, but also disappointed about advancement.
Yeah.
Nikki, did you want to pull out any of the, because I think you've sat on a few of the DNO webinars, for example, where, I think we've, obviously NESO on their webinar said some projects have been advanced, but not very many. What's the kind of position on DNOs?
So as far as we know, the position from DNOs is that no projects had been advanced, which is really not ideal. It doesn't seem to have been a particularly maybe fair process, with some transmission solar kind of getting advancement and the distribution solar not. So yeah, might be some a pushback from the industry on that. But yeah, challenging one for DNOs to be really telling customers what's going on because they have such limited information as well.
Yeah, I think that is so. I know Enged had said on their webinar, no, they don't think none of their advancement requests were sort of accepted, if that makes sense. And I think it's surprising and a bit disappointing, but also it's potentially quite a sort of wasted opportunity. We're aware that quite a lot of conversations have already happened. I know Philip Bale, if he'd been on today, would have, is sort of aware of some of the conversations that Enged, for example, had with their TO partner, which were quite positive around acceleration on a lot of sort of specific projects. So, it feels a little bit like perhaps we're getting is this a policy level sort of, actually we're just going to concentrate on getting offers out and advancement was a nice to have, but we're going to kind of park it. Or because if there's been the engineering discussion that's already taken place, then it, that feels like a real kind of missed opportunity potentially.
One thing that I'm noticing with quite a few projects, transmission projects that are moving forward, is just that a lot of them are being delayed. So schemes that are like connecting this year or next year, so maybe not who wouldn't have been really affected by connections reform, are just being delayed just because of general, issues that are coming up with TOs and connections.
So lots of delay notices, for example, letters coming out from the TO saying, really sorry, but we haven't been able to deliver these enabling works. We've literally just been on a discussion for a project which is built, and it's ready to energise. It's got an energisation date in January next year, and actually, the TO has failed to deliver one of the enabling works, and they're talking about pushing that back by a couple of years, potentially, and actually the kind of apparent inability of kind of connections reform to deliver acceleration, even for projects like that, projects which are built, I think that seems like a failure of an outcome. So I think I'm hoping that what we've seen at the moment and the kind of announcements on Monday to say, no or very limited advancement is the kind of backstop position. So they've, maybe NESO have just given everyone the bad news first. We can't guarantee this advancement. But, I would still argue there's still opportunity for the TOs to study the network, re-study all of these connections and look at the specific project advancement opportunities. So, even if projects haven't been kind of guaranteed advancement from phase 1 to phase 2, other way around, from phase 2 to phase 1, then hopefully that doesn't mean a TO should, not be considering advancement when they're actually doing their power system studies. I think that'd be my ask.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny position to have said that advancement isn't possible without actually doing most of the engineering studies.
Exactly.
So like you said, I think that will probably come out in the wash.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening so far. If insights like these are valuable in your work, then feel free to subscribe and stay current as Britain's connections landscape continues to evolve. Now, back to the Connectologists.
Yeah, there's, I guess, a related topic is just around the construction planning assumptions that NESO use, because like in the background, if we've got 3 times more batteries that are going to get gate 2 offers than sort of was in the Clean Power 2030 plan, does that mean that in the background NESO's planning assumptions are going to be that there's 3 times more batteries than they need, or are they just going to assume that the 62 gigawatts of schemes will have attrition and leave the queue? So it's quite an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the kind of, actually, we don't know what the technical CPAs are going to be. So, so we had a lot of movement on CPAs last year, which kind of suggested that we might have a sort of a net neutral assumption around batteries. So to assume that they didn't sort of support the grid, but they also didn't overload it. But, we're aware that lots of TOs push back against that potentially. We've no idea what the new CPAs are. So I think, maybe it's in the technical guidance document. Maybe it's something that the TOs could actually kind of be a bit more sort of transparent and publish.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to some other bits because time's ticking away on our podcast. So let's go on to the Strategic Spatial Energy Plan. Alex, there's been a delay in when that's coming out, isn't there?
Yes. So it was announced again earlier this week, along with everything else. So the SSEP is now delayed until the end of 2027. So it was meant to be coming out by the end of 2026. But yeah, we had news a couple of weeks ago that it was a few months delayed, but now we know it will be so almost a year delayed. That does impact kind of future windows, I guess. So the idea is that the SSCP will come up with kind of new pots or zonal capacities. So it will impact kind of what capacity is available for which technology.
So how's this going to impact on windows that do come out next year, if any?
I think
Still waiting to see.
That has to be what?
That has to be what?
Within 12 months, yeah.
Okay, that's a requirement. Okay, so in the at least one window that comes out next year, what's that going to mean for batteries, solar, and wind?
So it will probably be quite limited as to what capacity is available in that window or those windows. Yeah. So it will be any capacity that hasn't been filled as part of the gate to whole queue exercise, and potentially if anything drops out or maybe doesn't accept between now and that next window.
Yeah, I guess there's a possibility that not every gate 2 offer is accepted.
Oh yeah, there'll be a huge amount of gate 2 offers that still are.
This is a Nikki.
I say huge amounts. There will be a significant amount of gate 2 offers that are still not viable, because of curtailment or because of cost. Just because it's a gate 2 offer, it doesn't mean that it's a fantastic, completely clear of reinforcement curtailment offer.
And I guess they might have quite a significant step up in liabilities compared to, because we've had liabilities frozen for a year and a half, haven't we? So people might get a nasty shock.
I think it'll be interesting with the window overlap. Potentially between those windows applying and the projects in the window, the next window applying, and then everyone accepting their gate 2 offers or not, because we're not quite sure what the overlap there's going to be, if there is going to be an overlap.
Yeah,
how that's all going to slot into each other.
I'm sceptical that you can close the next window until everyone's gate 2 offers have either been accepted or expired.
Yeah, you would hope.
Which means you can't close the next window until 2027.
So they can open the first.
They can open the first window
next year,
but they can't close it. That's the Catherine Cleary prediction.
Yeah, that would make sense, but there's nothing confirming that.
No.
Yeah.
We'll wait to see. But it certainly seems like it would be almost impossible for there to be any allocation for batteries in the first window. Maybe a little bit for solar, tiny bit for LDES, tiny bit for wind in England and Wales, but basically slim pickings.
Yeah. So I suppose we might see lots of applications which are gated mod apps, but not seeking to increase their tech, for example. So someone who's wanting to make another kind of change, like changing their install capacity or changing sort of point of connections or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. So we'll wait to see next year when the first window does open. Next thing to just, I guess, briefly touch on is the Centralised Strategic Network Plan, the CSNP. I don't know if any of us know very much about that.
Well, I know that we've decided. So it's the CS. So we've had TCSMP2, which was the transitional ones, and the next CSMP is actually going to be called a NOAA again, which is the network option.
Okay, back to what it was.
So we're back to it, which I think is good because no one seems to be able to either get their tongue or head around TCSNP. So I think we are expecting revised NOAA next year in 2026.
And NOAA stands for?
Oh, Network Options Assessment.
Okay. Yep. Just checking.
I'm grateful that Alex. Christmas quiz. Yeah.
Christmas quiz. So we're going to RESPs, so the Regional Energy Strategic Plans. So I think the TRESPs are coming out in January next year. And I think the idea of those is that they're going to help inform the DNOs with their business plans for the next price control period. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out with that. We're coming towards the end of our list, but we're going to pick up on the CMP 448.
Yes.
Do you want, because you were sitting on the working group, do you want to just sort of explain what that is and the PCF?
Yes, this is a project commitment fee. So we've done a podcast on it before, and about a month ago, Ofgem published their minded to decision, which said that they were minded to approve the original proposal, and earlier this week they confirmed that. So that is officially going to come into play. I think the 2nd of January is when it's going to become kind of enacted. So basically that's saying that if the threshold is met for projects dropping out of the queue, not meeting M1, So that threshold is 6 gigawatts. So if that is met, then the PCF will be triggered. So it will be a 2.5k per megawatt security essentially until you meet M1. So it rises every 6 months. So the maximum it could be is 10k per megawatt.
And M1 is initiating the planning application.
Yes, submitting your planning consents.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So get your planning applications in, and no one will have to pay the PCF.
But it doesn't apply to demand. So I think, well, we probably been quite vocal about whether we thought this was a good idea or a waste of time. But it only applies to generation projects. So
yeah. So every 6 months, NESO are going to publish that information of how many projects have failed to meet M1. So the industry should have some visibility of kind of how likely the PCF is going to be triggered. It's worth noting that even if that threshold is met, there's still a process that they need to go through. So NESO first need to decide whether they want to trigger it or not. And then the decision then goes to Ofgem as well, who kind of have veto power of it. So Ofgem did talk a bit about having like monitoring and evaluation plan as part of these next steps. It's not yet clear what that's going to look like, but it's just to make sure that there aren't any kind of unforeseen circumstances, especially for maybe smaller developers. It could impact them more or something like that. So I think there's still a bit more to be done in that space. But
okay, good. There are a couple more things to mention. We just the Ofgem end-to-end review has come out.
On
Is
Monday.
It this week? So that came out well on
Monday. It really was Christmas come early, and this is a cracker. So I would highly recommend anyone go and read it because it has some very, very positive and quite kind of constructive suggestions in it. But we are doing a podcast tomorrow. In fact, we've got Ofgem, Alistair McMillan, who sort of led the Connections end-to-end review, coming in tomorrow, so we can kind of listen to that one.
Yeah, so we'll say no more on that one. Again, listen to the other podcast. And the last one is just picking up on demand connections. Again, we've done a bunch of podcasts on the sort of increasing focus on sort of large demand queue in the system. And I guess just a highlight really that next year, maybe in the first quarter of next year, there's almost bound to be some movement on this. So Ofgem published an open letter about 5 or 6 weeks ago asking for responses on some of the proposals they were suggesting for dealing with the demand queue. The deadline for responses to that's now closed, so it'd be interesting to see what they come back with on that. Certainly seems like the government's going to be pushing hard. And then we've got things like the government's AI growth zone sort of white paper that came out, and there's some really interesting things in that. So
quite specific to connections.
So not just sort of government's ambitions for putting data centers in the country, but around unblocking connections for data centers. Go and have a read of that, because that's actually really interesting. Things like reducing energy bills for data centers located in Scotland and the north of England.
Yes.
Wow.
Quite bold strategy.
Yeah.
Well, and even just, accelerating connections for data centres in AI growth zones, again, kind of, quite a clear direction of government, which possibly doesn't currently align with the way connections reform is going.
Yeah. And then something called the Connections Accelerators Service that none of us are quite sure what it is.
I think we're going to do some digging to find out who the Connections Accelerator Service is and have a chat with them.
Yeah. So lots to sort of look out for next year on demand connections as well. I think that's probably it. Anything else from anyone else that we should be mentioning that we haven't yet? No,
I don't think so. It's been quite the news week.
Yes, quite a week. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you team here for podcasts and being on this one today. And we just hope you have a good Christmas and New Year, and join us next year for some more podcasts. Thanks and goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for joining the Connectologists in this exploration. This knowledge sharing is made possible by the support of our clients. We thank them and hope it will help the whole of industry to connect society's critical infrastructure faster. If you found this useful, you're welcome to explore more free insights at roadnighttaylor.co.uk/Connectology, or click on the Insights tab at the top of our homepage. Thank you.